Hello. Well,
Hello.
we are in a very weird phase of global news at the moment. So I think we need to have quite a nourishing, supportive practice today because, well, that's what I feel is needed from everyone I've spoken to for the last week. So for a change, we're going to start lying down. I know we normally start standing or sitting, but actually I just think we're going to ground ourselves fully with some lying practice. So I want you to make sure you've got a pillow or pillows. Don't have to be Pilates pillows, but something that to give you a little bit of lift behind the back of your head if you need it. If you feel that you really don't, that's completely fine. But sometimes it's quite nice to be able to soften the shoulders back with a little bit of support underneath the head, and it's more comfortable sometimes. So finding yourself a nice comfortable position where your feet are flat on the floor, your arms are either lengthened down by your side with the fingertips long, and trying to really kind of connect down into the ground through the parts of your hand that are touching the floor, or take your hand onto your belly, so whichever feels better for your shoulder joints. So we've got the feet flat on the floor, knees bent up towards the ceiling. And I want you to feel like the thigh bones can just softly release down into their sockets. So if you imagine almost like there's a sand in your pockets and that sand is drizzling out of the pockets, imagine that sensation of softness, of depth, as the thigh bones drop down into the deepness, the depth of those sockets, the deepest socket in your skeleton, the hip socket. So allow it to really soften. Often we hold on to quite a lot of tension. So I want you to imagine the back of the pelvis really heavy and open onto the mat. And then begin to consciously connect to your breath. So take a lovely deep breath in through the nose. And then sigh with quite a wide mouth. Sigh the breath out. Do that 3 more times. So in through the nose. And 2 more in through the nose. And just 1 more like this. And then you can continue to breathe out with that really sort of wide jaw, if you like, if that doesn't feel strange. But I want you to, even if you continue just with the mouth softly closed, still have a sense of the jaw being really soft and relaxed. So as you breathe in, let the breath come in through the nose. And then just make sure that there's a softness, a looseness around your tongue so you're not clamping the jaws together. And for 3 more breaths, see if you can elongate that exhalation, just gently lengthen it to come into that slightly more nourishing space in your body. We will be moving, we will be energizing, but I want you to start from a really softened space of grounding and nourishing. And as you continue to breathe, I just want you to see if you can find the heaviness around all of the parts of your body that are supported by the ground underneath you. So the feet, all 10 toes, the base of the pelvis around your bum and your hips. See if you can, again, just let go of those hip joints even more. Notice the little undulation if there is one of your lower spine. If there isn't one, don't worry. Just notice whether your spine has that natural curve or whether it's flat into the mat. We'll come into kind of a conscious connection to that structure in a moment. And I just want you to continue breathing, thinking about the space and the size and the shape of your spine. I'm just going to close the door because Ben's being quite noisy in the kitchen and obviously the door is slightly open. So thinking about the shape of your spine, we talked last week a little bit about creating a C shape and a J shape, and I want you to imagine when you're lying, the natural S shape that your spine creates, just as when you're standing. But obviously now we've got a little bit more sense of gravity pulling that shape into a slightly lengthened curve. So think about the back of the head, and then where the neck meets the head and rounds around the rib cage. I want you just to sort of notice how that feels on the floor. So can you feel that you can really let go of the shoulders? Possibly if you've got your hands on your belly or the palms down, just open them so the palms face up and allow them either to be quite wide or just still down by your side, but palms facing up, and just check in with how that changes the feeling around your ribs and shoulders. And then thinking about the spine as it travels down towards the bottom of the rib cage. What happens there at the junction between the rib cage and then that lower part of your back, your lumbar spine? And then what happens at the junction with the pelvis? So just getting to know your spine a little bit. And either with the hands still, palms facing up, if that feels nice, or just gently turn them so you can connect down into the earth. I want you just to really press into your feet and allow that to tilt your pelvis to close your lumbar curve into the floor. So you're just bringing the pubic bone slightly further in towards you. And then I want you to lengthen it away, coming back into that natural curve, dropping the tailbone, maybe coming into a bit more of an arch of your back. The rib cage might start to pop a little bit, but see if you can do that with control without just letting it flare up to the ceiling. And then tilt back the other way. So let's just roll through this sort of gentle lumbar curve a few times, just ironing the lower spine into the floor and then letting it release back into its natural curve. Notice what, if anything, is happening around your shoulders and your head when you're just tilting the pelvis. Notice if your feet can help facilitate by pressing down, whether that helps you connect the muscles around the pelvis and the hips. It's all connected. It's just interesting to notice that connection. And then just come back to a point where your lumbar spine is in its neutral curve, so it's slightly domed, and your pelvis is level with the floor. So you might want to take your hands onto the pelvis and just sort of check in with the hip bones and the pubic bone. Are they in line with each other? Can you feel like your hands, if they're placed, heel of the hand on the hip bones, fingertips towards the pubic bone, they're level, so they're not tilting in one direction or the other. And let's turn the arms to back down by your side, or you can keep them on your pelvis, whichever works better for you. I want you to imagine a clock face on the abdomen. The navel is 12, the pubic bone 6, and the two hip bones are 3 and 9. And just in your mind's eye, take a moment to fill in the rest of the numbers on the clock face. And you've got a little marble in the center of your clock face, just in between the navel and the pubic bone. I want you to roll that marble to 12. So it's the same movement you just done, that tilt of the pelvis, pubic bone lifting, lumbar spine closing, not collapsing, closing onto the floor. Roll your marble now to 3. Keeping the feet heavy into the floor, we're lifting the pelvis. So you might find that one side of your bum now lifts a little bit, but we're not kind of lifting it all the way off the floor. We want to feel that you're imagining like rolling a marble around a plate. So we're coming down to 6, across to 9, so picking up the opposite bum, opposite side of your bum, and then back up to 12. Pause there. Let's go the other way. So coming across to 9, down to 6, across to 3, back up to 9, and then roll the marble back to center, so you're coming back to neutral. Let's do that again clockwise, so coming to 12, and then 3, 9, are you shaving, sorry, 6, are you shaving any points of your clock face off? 9, 12, pause at the top, let's go 9, 6, 3, 12, and then back to neutral. Let's do this a few more times, and either alternating, or if that's feeling like you're losing a flow, you can do 3 in one direction and then change direction. If you feel that that's kind of a nicer way of getting a little bit of massage into the bones and the joints. It's almost like a kind of hula hooping movement with the waist, but we're trying to keep the rib cage quite serene. So it's a movement coming from the pelvis and the lower back, not really even in the thigh bones. So think about the thighs moving in their sockets, or the thigh bones, the thigh sockets moving around the bone, as opposed to the legs rolling around. So it's not a hip roll, it's more of a hip joint massage. When you've done your 2 or 3 in either direction, coming back through center. Now I want you to place your hands on your pelvis. So your hands are making a kind of diamond shape. So you've got, or a triangle, I suppose, your heels of your hands on your hip bones and the thumbs connecting, then the fingertips connecting at your pubic bone. Like a sort of snooker triangle, if you like. So just take a moment to orientate yourself with the space around the pelvis. And I want you to think about the muscles that we're trying to connect to here. So around the pubic bone is where your pelvic floor connects, or some of it connects around the front there. So even just gently palpating, or just ever so slightly connecting to that space in a more kind of physical, tactile way, you can activate and know where the pelvic floor fibers are going to be drawing up and in, some of them. And then I want you to think about the muscles that are just underneath the hands. So your deep transversus muscle, really deep corset muscle, and then the rectus abdominis, which is one we all know and love, the six-pack muscle that lies across the top of that. So we're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, I want you, without moving your spine, so without creating any of those clock face movements, you shouldn't feel the spine rolling or the hips rolling from side to side. So I want you really to try and avoid those movements. Think about lifting into your back passage if you're trying to stop breaking wind, so the back of the pelvic floor, and draw that engagement forward and up towards the pubic bone. You may feel, even without actively engaging it, a little bit of switching on of that transversus muscle, almost like your 2 hip bones are drawing towards each other, like the whole system in the center is switching on. And breathe in to let it relax. Let's do that again on your out breath. Lifting through back passage through to front without tilting the pelvis. So you really want to find that it's an internal engagement, no bones are moving. And then breathe in to let it go. Last one like this, you're going to draw the muscles up and in, lifting pelvic floor up and in, and this time actively draw the lower belly muscles in too, so really deepen that engagement. You may feel that you're imprinting your spine. I want you to resist, feel heavy in the tailbone, and try and get that muscular engagement without moving your bones. And then breathe in, let it release. Let's add a little bit of challenge to that lovely stability. So what we're going to try and do is maintain that really serene, still, strong, stable pelvis, but we're going to add all sorts of different things for your brain to coordinate with it. So take a breath in and float your arms up to the ceiling. Palms facing forward. Just going to make sure I'm not going to knock over my glass of water as I normally do. Let's just take a moment to relax the shoulders actually. So palms facing towards each other for a moment. Breathe in, open the arms softly out to the side. Breathe out, close. And again, let's do that 2 more times. Breathing in, reach. Breathing out, close. Last one, in. And good, now bring the palms to face forward. Take a breath in here. Now I want you to think about how you can stabilize your pelvis and how it reacts to the rib cage. So as you breathe out on your next out breath, I want you to send your arms back behind you and try and keep the bottom rib really heavy and connected into the floor at the back and softening down towards the pelvis at the front. Breathe in, release the arms back up. And again, let's send the arms back. Keep your pelvic muscles stable. So this time, even draw in through the pelvic floor, lower belly. See if you can find that strength and stability around the pelvis. And the arms come back up. We've got 2 more. Excuse me. The arms come back on your out breath. So you kind of help to soften the rib cage down when you release that breath out through the lips. And last one. And back through center. Now that's quite simple, isn't it? Just the arms. We're going to add in a few legs to see if the pelvis can still be nice and stabilized by that deep drawing up the pelvic floor, drawing in of the transverses. So really sort of strengthening that whole area. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, both arms come back. The left leg slides away, flex into the left heel, and then bring it back in. Heel comes back towards the bottom, foot flat on the floor. Other side, both arms and left leg. Did I say left leg last time? Sorry, my lefts and rights are not very good, are they? And bring it back through center. Two more either side. So lengthening that leg away in line with your body. Just notice if you need to, have a look down if it's wandered out to the side. See if you can keep it like a little train track directly out in line with the sit bone. And back through center, one more either side. Keep the tummy drawn in softly, the rib cage nice and soft. So we're not pinging up, we're not arching the back. Last one with the left leg. And back through center. Keeping the arms where they are, unless you're feeling any fatigue or anything around the arms, in which case bring them down. You're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, a little bit more challenge now for this stability around the pelvis. I want you to draw up and in, pelvic floor, lower belly, no imprinting of the spine, but I want you on the next movement, if you have to, consciously connect the lower spine into the floor to protect. If the lower back feels like it's not loving the movement, do it consciously rather than letting it happen accidentally. So taking a breath in, as you breathe out, drawing through the lower belly, float the left knee in towards you, single knee fold. And then just release it back. So we're just practicing with the hip joint. Other side, on your out breath, float the right knee in. And then release it down. Good, now just practice one, that's just once either side to practice the movement. We're going to come into a double knee fold now. So folding that left knee in, deepen the lower belly. On your next out breath, float the right knee in two. See how that feels. So you're now connecting through the pelvis to maintain that balance of the thigh bones dropping into their socket, making sure the rib cage isn't flaring. You can connect the lower spine into the floor if that makes you feel more supported. What we don't want is for the spine to be arching and the legs to be hanging off the pelvis. So keep that neutral pelvis switched on muscles. If you feel like you're fatiguing, tilt the pelvis so the lower back is imprinted. Okay, so imprinting is a little bit more supportive of the lower back. It means your lower belly doesn't have to work so hard, basically. So if you ever feel any lower back pain, imprint the lower spine or put the feet, take the feet down. So I don't want you to work through lower back pain. Taking a breath in. As you breathe out, you're going to tap your right toe down, lengthen your left arm back behind you, and then bring them both back towards each other. Other side, right arm, left leg, and back. Let's do 3 more either side. So really using your belly here to make sure that there's no kind of tilting of the pelvis. There's no rocking of the pelvis like any movements of the clock face. One more either side after this one. Left leg, right arm, right leg. And then just bring the knees in, just hug them in. From side to side. Now we've warmed up a little bit around the lower belly and the thighs with those movements. Let's take it a little bit further now. Now you can leave the head down, and I want you to take the head down if you feel it fatigue, this next one fatiguing into your neck at all. So we're going to come back into that double knee fold position with the legs. Take your left hand, release it down the side of your left leg, so sort of fingertips towards the ankles. They won't necessarily be very close to them. I want you to just lengthen down the side of the shin or the side of the leg. Take your right hand and just place it around the top of that left knee. Quite an open stance, like a ballroom stance. So your elbows are quite nice and open here, so we're not scrunched. Nice and open across the collarbones. Take a breath in. Now we can practice with the head down for one. So you're going to send on your out breath the right leg away, just a sort of 45-degree angle or higher if you feel your lower back might start arching. Excuse me, breathing in. As you breathe out, we're going to change. The hands swap and you lengthen the left leg away. One more either side, just with the head down, just to practice the leg movement, making sure the spine isn't rocking. And then on your next one, you're going to curl up. So looking down towards your belly, sending the legs away, changing the position of the arms, drawing the belly away from your nose. So really feel that pelvic floor connection, that lower tummy drawing in to support the lower back, support the pelvis. Looking down towards your pubic bone, make sure you're not looking to the sky because that will put pressure on your neck. Last one either side. And then bring the knees in, release the head down. Just roll the head from side to side. Let's take your left knee in your hand, release the right leg away. We did a few hip flexor stretches last week, so it's the same kind of thing. We're going to feel the front of your hip, really letting go here. Relax the shoulders, let your head feel heavy. Breathe. And then changing over, similar position, similar movement to what you've just been doing, but less dynamic. Breathing in here, letting the hip release. Relaxing the shoulders. And then bring that left knee back in, reaching through the center, little inner thigh stretch. We can hold on to so much tension in our inner thighs and hips, so this is a lovely way of just really trying to let it go. Notice if one side feels a bit tighter than the other. It's a good pelvic floor stretch this as well. If you imagine the diamond shape between your tailbone, your sit bones, your pubic bone, that's where the pelvic floor attaches. It's like a kind of figure of 8 and a diamond in one. It's in 2 layers. If you imagine that, just gently opening, releasing, softening any tension. And then when you're ready, place one foot down, followed by the other. Now, if you have got a pillow underneath your head, maybe take it away or just make it a little bit smaller. Like, so I had 2 pillows, I've now taken one away because we're going to come into some spine curls. So I want you to make sure that your neck doesn't feel like it's being squished and cramped. So always feel like you've got a nice natural curve of the neck at the top of the movement. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, you can always squeeze a pillow, by the way, in between your knees, or a squidgy ball if you've got one. So it's really good to give yourself a little anchoring for these movements, which otherwise your legs can become a bit wanting to do their own thing. So let's take a breath in here. As you breathe out, coming back to that pelvic tilt that we did at the beginning, rocking the pelvis and starting to lift the hips now. So rolling through the lumbar spine and then picking up the bottom rib and then coming to about the middle of the rib cage, around the center. And I want you here to just notice whether the rib cage is flaring up to the ceiling or whether you can slide it down. So really find that active connection with your lower belly, the oblique muscles, so that we're not losing the spine up to the ceiling, but instead the bum is lifted, but we're nice and connected. So the rib and the hip are drawn towards each other. From here, you're going to float the arms up towards the ceiling. Breathe out, reach the arms back behind you. And then if you've got space, I want you to circle the arms out by your side. Keeping the bum lifted, we're going to do that 2 more times. So float the arms up, reach them all the way back, keeping the bum lifted, and circle the arms around. 1 more. And circle. Leaving the arms down by your side, and then you're going to roll your spine, bone by bone, all the way down so your tailbone lengthens towards the mat again. So we're coming back into that neutral position of the pelvis. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, tucking the tailbone underneath you, rolling up bone by bone. We're going to float the arms up here. This time, palms facing towards each other, bum stays lifted. You're going to open the arms out, just as we did at the beginning, breathing in, breathing out to close 3 times. Breathe in, open, bum stays lifted. Breathing out to close. Last one, in to open, out to close. And then you're going to leave the arms there towards the ceiling as you roll the spine down. Bone by bone. When you get to the bottom, just do a couple of pelvic clocks, one in each direction, just to iron out a sense of, or find that sense of balance through the lower spine, and then come back to neutral, back into that even balance between hip bones, pubic bone. Take a breath in. Now, as you breathe out, I want you to find that pelvic floor connection again, lower belly, pelvic floor lift. Float the left knee in, open the right arm out, and then back to center. Other side, left arm comes out, right knee comes in, and back. Two more other side like that. So just notice if you're wobbling in the pelvis or even in the ribs here. See if you can connect softly into your muscles to stabilize so that your torso feels like, even though the limbs are going in different directions, it's not being pulled. So you're feeling really grounded and like you can control the movement of your torso against forces from its extremities. I think I've done an extra on either side, sorry guys, let's just go with it. My counting isn't very good. And then from here, take the hands behind the head, interlace the fingers, elbows up towards the ceiling so that you can see them in your peripheral vision but not hugging your head with them. So you want to sort of just gently have them tucking or closing around your head, gently taking a breath in. As you breathe out, head really heavy in the hands, drawing through the lower belly, you're going to curl up, and as you do so, slide your left leg away, flex into the heel, and then bring it back as you bring the spine back down. Other side, curling up as you slide the leg, and then bring it back down. We've got two more either side, so you can do just the leg movement with the arms as we did before, if the curl up feels a bit too much, or if it's going into your back in an uncomfortable way, or if it just feels like it's too much load. Last one either side. And back through center. Let's just bring the arms, elbows rather, out to the side. Now, if this doesn't feel comfortable for your shoulders, arms down by your side, please. Palms facing up or down, it doesn't matter. Bring the feet and knees together. You're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, allow the knees to come across to the left and let your right shoulder and elbows stay heavy. So you're just really opening through the chest, but keeping those knees glued. So imagine you've got a £10 note in between your knees. You don't want it to just drop away, so those knees stay completely level. Only go as far as you can keep them glued, and then bring it back through center. Over to the other side, twisting to the right, the left elbow stays heavy, the left shoulder stays down, and bring it back, two more either side. So we're using the oblique muscles here, the ones that connect almost like your kind of inside pockets, if you like, around the bottom and the base of the rib cage towards the pelvis, like a little corset wrapping around diagonally, whereas the transversus muscle wraps around horizontally. Such an amazing network of muscles that we have. We are truly extraordinary, as is all of nature. Last one to the right. And back through center, just bring the knees in, hug. Circle the ankles if you like. I want you to slide the legs away and reach the arms away too without knocking any glasses of water over. So full body stretch here. Really feel the back of the body. Notice what's happening, whether it's arching, whether you can just allow it to get a bit heavier. So let your limbs soften, let the shoulders relax, the hips relax. Breathe into the belly. And then when you're ready, I just want you to roll over onto your front. So rolling all the way around so that you're now on your front. Your legs are lengthened. I want you to make sure if you need it still, you've got a pillow. So you want it so that you can rest your forehead on it without squishing your nose. Basically, we want to be able to release our neck, but also breathe. If you don't have one and you prefer just to lean onto one side of your cheek, then do, but make sure you alternate. So we're not just leaning on one focusing on one tilt of the neck. Let's bring the elbows out in line or just below your shoulder joint. So we can be here or we can be here, depending on where you feel your neck and shoulders like. The legs want to be a little bit wider than hip width, but kind of roll your hips around for a moment just to let go of any tension around the lower back. And I want you to lengthen your forehead down. See if you can connect and soften that bottom rib in towards the pelvis again. So you might need to kind of like a little caterpillar shimmy your bottom rib underneath you a little bit more to find a nice, more natural curve of the spine. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, find your pelvic floor lift. So think about lifting back passes through to front and lifting the lower belly. Now you might feel that kind of almost tension lifting the lower belly away from the mat. You might feel your bottom start to grip. So I want you to see if you can still get that pelvic floor lift, but without gripping your bum. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to just nod your nose forward. Now from here, allow your head to come in line with the spine, but I want you only then not to move your neck anymore, but instead peel your rib cage off the mat. So imagine the shoulder blades softening into the back, only coming up as far as you can feel that in your lower back, in your, thoracic spine, so the mid spine, but not in your neck. So we're not trying to look forward, I want you just to keep the gaze down the nose. Elbows connected, palms connected, breathe in. As you breathe out, roll it down. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, nod your nose forward. Peel the breastbone off the mat. Kind of feeling the shoulder blades soften into the back, heart center being drawn forward. Breathe in. Breathe out, roll it down. We've got one more. As you breathe out, nod the nose forward. Now from here, I want you to fold your right knee in towards you. So I want you to look over your right shoulder as you just tilt your foot towards the right, and then look over your left shoulder, tilt the foot to the left, back through center, lower it down. We're going to do the same on the other side, breathing in. Breathing out, nod the nose forward. Think about the neck, trying to keep the neck in line with the rest of the spine. So this movement is in your thoracic spine, not in your neck, which may feel more challenging because our neck likes to move loads. But I want you to get it into that sticky part of the mid spine. Now fold your left knee in. Now you're going to bring it across to the right, looking across, maybe be able to see the toes, maybe not. Come back through the other side, looking over your left shoulder, see the toes there, waving at yourself, and then bring it back through center, lengthen the leg down, lengthen the forehead down. And then you're going to bring yourself up into your rest position, the knees come wide. If you have a bolster or a pillow, it's actually really lovely to, at this point, take it in front of you and just give it a hug. So if you have got anything, it doesn't have to be a yoga bolster, just a nice big fluffy pillow or a cushion from the sofa, just to give you that little bit of extra. I mean, it's fine just to go on the floor, that's totally fine. But giving yourself that little bit of extra connection. Ideally, releasing your forehead down on something, but obviously not if you're swishing your nose. And I want you just to focus on your breathing. Now, if this position isn't great for your knees or you just don't love it, you can just take the pillow and bring your legs around it, as long as you've got something underneath your head as well. Or, you know, rest your head onto it. So whatever feels better and more nourishing and more comfortable. I want you to be able to fully surrender to your breath. So we've spent a lovely amount of time now on the ground, on the mat. Normally we spend quite a lot of time being away from the mat and drawing our own weight against gravity. But this time we've really allowed gravity to give us some strength by supporting our muscles and our bones. So I want you just to allow that to happen even more consciously now. Letting your weight surrender into the whatever mat or carpet you have underneath you. Notice where your breath is traveling to. So when you breathe in, where do you feel it? Can you feel it stretching anywhere around your hips, your spine, your waist, your pelvis? Where do you feel it most? Is it around the heart center? Is it higher? Can you feel it around the collarbones? What would it take for you to send it in a soothing way deeper down into the body, into the joints? When you breathe in, do you feel a sense of expansion, of opening? When you breathe out, do you feel a sense of softening, of closing? If that doesn't resonate with you, what do you feel? So as you breathe in, just notice in your mind, what are the words that come to mind with your in-breath? What are the words that come to mind with your out-breath? Just breathe a few breath cycles, simply being a bit curious about how you feel about that breath cycle, the in-breath, the space in between the in and the out, the out-breath, the space in between the out and the in. Seeing where you like to linger, where you rush through. And as you continue with your breath, just do a quick body scan, starting with the toes. Do they feel lengthened, relaxed? Have you not really noticed them before now? Think about your ankle joints, the arch of the foot. Think about the shin, the calf, your knee joints, the thighs all the way up to the pelvis and the hips. How are they feeling? Do they feel open? Do they feel nourished, oiled? Do they still feel sticky? Do they feel different or familiar? Sending your breath consciously into the belly for the next few breaths. See if you can really allow the lower belly to soften and release and open with the breath. Letting go of any tension, let go around the pelvis, the pelvic floor. Then considering the space between the ribs and the hips. Breathing, massaging the organs. Think about the space within the rib cage now. So as you're breathing, thinking about opening like bellows into either side of the rib cage area. Relaxing the shoulders, the neck, the jaw. And stay in this repose for as long as you feel comforted and supported. And I wish you a solid, soothing night's sleep. Good night.